Good afternoon. Welcome to Legal Access. Comes to you Thursday at this time so we can answer your questions about different aspects of the law. Today we're talking about personal injury. So if you've been injured in a car accident or on somebody else's property, if you have any questions about any personal injury that you've sustained, or maybe you're an owner of property where you need to watch out for your patrons, give us a call here today. The number is on your screen, 843-848-8080. Here on the panel today to answer your questions about personal injury, all from the Maguire law firm, is first of all Ian Maguire.
Good to see you, Dave. It's been a couple of weeks. Good to be back.
All right, and also Brittany Jones.
Hey, Dave.
And to your left, Mike Smith.
Hello, Dave.
Hi, welcome in today, and I'm assuming somebody is still back in the office manning the phones.
Yeah, Tiffany's doing all the hard work, right?
She's carrying the load for us today.
A personal injury is something that the Maguire law firm deals with on a regular basis. So I know that a lot of personal injury cases will settle before you get to any kind of a courtroom and go to litigation. What is some of the factors that would keep an insurance company from settling a personal injury case before it goes to litigation?
Well, I mean, I would start by saying, anytime we get a case in and I think we'll all agree on this, that from our vantage point, we are assuming it's going to trial. And by doing that, you're preparing a case and you're going to optimize the value. The insurance company's going to see you're preparing for trial. Hopefully, with our history, they know we're going to go to trial if they if they aren't, what we would consider fair to our clients. The truth is, we'll talk to our clients and say, when we go to trial, and they'll be like, the truth is, the vast majority of cases are never going to trial. And in civil cases, when Mike and I started, I won't put Brittany in this conversation, but when we started, there was no mediation. And cases would, you'd be trying cases on almost a weekly basis, bi-weekly, there was just, you'd always hear the term settled on the courthouse steps, right?
It did all the time.
And it happened all the time. And then with mediation, it's changed a lot, but we still, I would say 85, Mike, percent of cases,
or 90%,
of cases settle at mediation. But if it doesn't settle at mediation, boom, it's just going to get on the trial docket very shortly thereafter. And if we don't have a second mediation, you're going to have your trial, but it's a very small number, but I'm going to let Mike and Brittany answer the question. But the one thing I think we're all going to agree on is that if you get the case ready for trial, you put the work in, that insurance company is going to be much more inclined to give you a fair and proper settlement than they would if they see things, you haven't done the things you're supposed to do. Is that right?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And insurance companies look for certain weaknesses, their perceived weaknesses in cases. One of the things that they look at is how much property damage was done to the vehicle. You'll see some cases where it's difficult to see a scratch on the bumper, for example, and the insurance company just slam their fist down and say, this one's going to trial. You'll see gaps in treatment where somebody may go to the emergency room and think that the medication that they're going to get is sufficient and will make everything okay. Well, they realize 3 weeks later, I'm still hurting. So they'll go to the doctor. Well, the insurance company will start waving the flag around and say, oh, no, you went 3 weeks without going to a doctor. You can't be hurt. So those are the kind of things that the insurance company looks at and says, oh, no, we're going to mark this one with a big T on the outside of the file and send it to trial.
And it might be self-serving, but that's why it's important if you're out there, if you're looking for an attorney to handle your personal injury case, to find somebody who does have trial experience, because there's so many law firms out there that just assume that they'll be able to settle before it goes to trial.
Sure. And like both Ian and Mike have said, we absolutely prepare all of our cases as if they are going to make it to trial. But we also are going to make a good attempt at trying to settle them if we can, if at all possible. And by preparing to go to trial, that's what Ian's talking about, it's going to make the insurance company a whole lot more likely and able to settle it.
And the truth is, our clients, they want to get their case, most of the time they want to get it resolved quickly and expeditiously, but they're the serious cases with the serious injuries, you get one bite at the apple. So you take the time to make sure that the individual's got all the proper treatment, and we were able to get experts that can figure out what the future cost of care is going to be, because once that case resolves, they can't come back and say, well, this is worse than I thought, and so the more serious the case is, probably the longer it might take to resolve. generally.
To kind of expand on that, I mean, I know that settlements are done when treatment is usually over, but you want to look at whether if there's going to be future treatment, if they might need surgeries down the road or whatever the case may be. How do you guys figure, or how do insurance companies figure what the cost of that might be if somebody's going to need another back surgery in 10 years?
There are actually experts out there that you can contact that'll give you an estimate as to what that future medical cost will be. A lot of the insurance companies, though, are very hesitant. Unless you've had the surgery, they don't want to give you the value for the surgery. So that's a fight that we have to go through to try to convince them that, you know, this person is not getting better. They've tried conservative measures and, you know, physical therapy hasn't worked, injections haven't worked. The only thing left is surgery. And here's the surgical estimate. You know, you have a neck surgery and it's $170,000 for a multi-level fusion on the neck. That doesn't count the physical therapy and the MRIs and the x-rays that track along with that. So when you've got a big expenditure like that, you need somebody that's going to be in your corner that can actually go and fight against the insurance companies to get you that value on the case.
Yeah, and truthfully, the medical bills and the future medical bills, that's just one very small aspect when someone has a serious life-changing, life-altering injury. It's the, you know, the quality of life that they may never have again, which is the hardest thing to measure for jurors, frankly. But it's really what we concentrate on. The bills are the bills. You put them up there, and the future bills, you put them up there, and if they want, the defense wants to put up a counter to that, they can. But the permanency of your injury, the pain, the suffering, but especially the loss of quality of life is really the biggest aspect of a case that we concentrate on.
We're talking about personal injury here today on Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Our phone number is on your screen. Give us a call, just like Lisa from Florence. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for calling in. What's your question for the panel today?
Yeah, my question is, I was in a car accident last Friday, and I actually admit that I was making an illegal U-turn, but the car that was coming that hit me was actually making an illegal left turn, and they totally lost my car, and I did get hurt. So my question is, my other question is, the state trooper only charged me. Do that mean that I have to pay? Pretended he fell out the car. Do that mean that I have to pay his injuries, or can I go against the way the ticket was actually written?
Okay, Mike, you want to? Did you? Okay,
I'll
go ahead and start, and I'll try to talk a little about what happened. It sounded like you were cited for an illegal U-turn, but the other driver was making an illegal left. And the question is, basically, what can I do about it? So I would definitely consult with a lawyer. There's a number of good lawyers in the Florence area that you can talk to, and I have to say we are very close to opening our own office in Florence. I'm really excited about that. But you know, for now, there's a number of really good attorneys you can go talk to there, and evaluate. They can evaluate for you if you could proceed with a case. If it's a matter of paying for the other person's injuries, your insurance company will hire a lawyer to protect your interest. So you definitely want to let your insurance company know what's going on. I think I'm sure you've done that, but if you haven't, that's the first thing I would do. And then the second thing I would do is sit down with an attorney. That just about any attorney that does the kind of work we do is going to let you meet with you and consult with you and give you some knowledge in regards to what your rights are. So I really encourage you to do that as soon as possible, right, Brittany?
Yeah, absolutely. I think she mentioned that maybe she was the only one marked at fault on the accident report, and that is not necessarily the end of the case. So being marked at fault on the accident report is kind of step one, that the officer kind of makes that determination, but your insurance company and the other driver's insurance company are going to take a look at it themselves and make a determination as well. And even that, is not the end of it. So,
Right.
definitely you still have a case.
Most of the time, that police officer did not witness the accident,
right.
so he's just taking that information based on a couple of conversations. It sounds to me like, I've lost the hearing, but it sounds to me like she was talking about a comparative negligence type situation too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's one where the courts will allow you a recovery as long as your negligence is not more than 50%. So, you both may be at fault. It's a matter of the court weighing out who was more negligent than the other person. And if she felt like she was more in the right, then she needs to stand up for herself and get counsel to pursue that.
Well, Lisa, as Ian said, personal injury lawyers would work on contingencies. So because of that, consultations will be free. So don't waste any more time. Just call a lawyer in your area or anywhere within the state of South Carolina to be able to help you out, and they'll be able to let you know if you can move forward with your case. All right, tell you what, if you want to be on the air just like Lisa, give us a call right here. The phone number's on your screen. Whether you have any questions about automobile accidents, whether you've hurt yourself on somebody else's property, slip and fall accidents, that's all fair game here today. Personal injury, that's our topic here today on Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Welcome back to Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Here we have the panel made up of all the attorneys from the Maguire Law Firm: Ian Maguire, Brittany Jones, Mike Smith. Give us a call. The phone number is on your screen. If you have any questions about personal injury, that's our topic here today. So if you've been in an automobile accident, if you've hurt yourself on somebody else's property, whatever the case may be, if you've suffered personal injury, we're here to answer your questions. 843-848-8080. Now, I know a lot of people swear by chiropractors, and I know that not always chiropractic might not be covered by insurance. How does that play out in the end as far as settlements are concerned?
Well, yeah, first of all, chiropractors help a lot of people, and they're fantastic for soft tissue, connective tissue cases. Insurance companies, however, are sometimes give people a hard time when they see a chiropractor. They're not medical doctors. That's what we hear. A good way to avoid having that problem is go to your chiropractor, but also get treatment. It's sort of a team approach. Get treatment either with an orthopedic or sometimes you get physical therapy, and you could make it work that way. But as far as if insurance doesn't take it, the chiropractor will send a letter to, when they find out there's an attorney on the case, send a letter saying, when the case settles, this is my bill, and I'll do whatever I have to do to testify if necessary, but please protect my bill. And I think that's fair, and it's, I don't know, Brittany, is there anything to?
Yeah, so just because your health insurance might not cover your chiropractic treatment, that doesn't mean that we can't include it as your treatment or part of your bills and damages in the case. So if you get relief from seeing your chiropractor, definitely, that's an okay thing to do and to continue to do, and we can certainly get that included. And like Ian said, we can get them repaid, from the settlement at the end, a lot of times with a letter of protection or lien, and a lot of chiropractors' offices are willing to do that and work with us on it.
And I will tell you, Dave, that in the last 25 years, it's actually moved away from, initially chiropractors were looked at as the insurance companies were kind of washing their hands of that treatment. But it has been more and more accepted in the insurance industry now. So you will get credit, if you will, for getting your treatment at the chiropractor.
Yeah, it used to be a shame because people it's actually a lot of times the bills are going to be lower than if you sought other type of treatment maybe, but yet you're getting penalized for it, and it's nice. And as we know, Mike spent many, many years doing defense work. It's nice to hear that it's changing, and because a lot of people get relief, and it actually cases a lot of times with connective tissue injuries, if that's the extent of the injury, they have great results of finishing up their treatment faster than they would with other types of treatment. So it just depends on the injury, right? But we have a number of people that will see a chiropractor, like I said, and then get a team approach where they also see medical doctors, and that works out usually the best for the case for the individual, I would say.
And don't forget your family doctor. That's a key, because the family doctor can be the gatekeeper of your medical treatment.
And you're right, and the family doctor says, sort of gives the nod to the chiropractic treatment, or even refers to the chiropractic. That obviously, for the insurance company, will legitimize it for them, right? The care.
If somebody's injured in a trip and fall or a slip and fall or maybe in an automobile accident and have soft tissue injuries, maybe they've wrenched their back or wrenched their neck, that's not something a lot of times that x-rays or imaging will be able to bring
That's
out.
exactly right.
How do you handle that with the insurance companies to let them know that this is a real injury?
Well, first of all, the insurance companies know that soft tissue injuries won't be picked up on x-rays or a lot of times on CT scans necessarily that you'll get in the hospital right away. The problem becomes if you have continuing treatment and you're not getting any relief, a lot of times the medical provider, particularly an orthopedic doctor or somebody like that, will order an MRI. And an MRI is a pretty sophisticated piece of equipment, and it will actually show the pictures in different planes, and I can bore everybody with those planes, but it can show it in different planes it's like taking a slice out of a loaf of bread, and you can actually see the different tendons and ligaments and things like that and see what's torn and what's not torn. So the MRI is the next logical step. You can also, with pain that's originating from the neck or the back, do EMG study, nerve conduction studies, and that will give you, the human body's got this fabulous roadmap, and you can have a particular level in the neck, and that roadmap, if you will, the dermatomal pattern, it will tell you if you're having problems with these two fingers, what level of the neck it is. So doctors have several different things other than that x-ray to look at as part of the treatment process.
I don't know about you, but next time I get a piece of bread out of a loaf, I'm going to look for ligaments and tendons.
Oh, the axial view, Dave.
Okay.
The axial view.
All right, what else we got going on here? I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions about any kind of personal injury. 843-848-8080 is our phone number here. Now, a lot of people might call a personal injury firm about medical malpractice. Medical malpractice cases are very complex. Why are they so much more complex than, let's say, a regular personal injury case?
Well, first of all, they are expensive from a practical standpoint because you have to hire an expert, essentially a doctor, that is going to say there was a breach of the standard of care. Secondly, the standard of care, and as it should be, it allows the physician room, because it's not always black and white with medical care. It just isn't. So, the physicians should be allowed to perform and do their job without every step they take being questioned, there's going to be bad results. It's just life. It's just the way, and there's no doubt about it. So they're very difficult cases when they proceed to trial to get a positive results, because I think juries understand that unless there's blatant or very extreme negligence, they're going to side on a lot of cases with doctors and people in the medical field that are doing their best to help and save people.
Yeah.
Really, unless it's a tragic outcome, it's almost too expensive to follow up with a typical, somebody left a sponge in my abdomen type case. So yeah, it's so expensive to follow through on.
You're not just looking for an injury, you're looking for that breach of a standard of care, which is, it's a legal standard that we've set, so it's something different than just something bad happened or
It's a
just
high
something
bar.
went wrong.
Yeah, because pretty much anybody who's been in the hospital or if you've lost a loved one in
Something's
the
happening.
hospital, it's like, okay, they did something and he had an infection, so I need to sue.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't sit down with an attorney, because just for peace of mind, but I can tell you that the medical malpractice attorneys will say that they might look at 100 cases and they might take one or two of those cases. And a lot of them you say, oh, of course that's the case. But like I said, the standard of care allows, it's liberally construed to protect, I think, the doctors and the nurses, and it should be.
Right.
We're going to run to a break here right now. When we get back, we've got about 10 minutes left in the show to be able to take your questions about personal injury. Don't be shy. Give us a call. Phone number's on your screen. Personal injury, that's our topic here today on Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Welcome back. It's Legal Access brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Here we have attorneys from the Maguire Law Firm, Ian Maguire, also Brittany Jones, Mike Smith, answering your questions about personal injury. If you have any today, if you've had an automobile accident, if you've been injured on somebody else's property and you want to know whether or not you have a case, make sure, first of all, call an attorney, because personal injury attorneys will give you free consultations, and they do work on contingencies. So I know a lot of people are afraid of calling an attorney because they're like, oh, they're going to start charging me as soon as they pick up the phone. That's not the case as far as personal injury is concerned. Now, at the beginning of the show, we talked a little bit about claims that might settle before litigation and claims that have to go to litigation. A lot of people will say, you know, I don't need an attorney. I can do this on my own. I can, sue the insurance company. They've already contacted me. What are some of the mistakes that people might make, or what's the biggest disadvantages of trying to handle a personal injury case yourself rather than getting an attorney?
Well, Ian kind of started off with it at the very beginning of the show today. The fact that we are attorneys and preparing our cases as if we're going to trial, whether it settles or not, eventually, is kind of our or else. It's our ammo, I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
So when an insurance company is dealing with an attorney's office instead of that individual, they know that there's that risk, that there's that extra risk. If they're just dealing with the individual, maybe they know something, maybe they don't, maybe they will get an attorney, maybe they won't. They haven't so far. So, I just think that without that added risk, they're not being taken as seriously, if you will.
Yeah, I will say, if you don't have an attorney, or you have an attorney the insurance company knows is never going to take their case to trial, then they're telling you what they're going to give you.
Right.
You're not
Right.
dictating anything as far as what the value of the case is.
And most of the insurance companies will want to settle the case based on the medical bills alone. And Ian mentioned that earlier. That's just one element. There's a book that we all use on jury charges. There's over 20 different elements of damage in a personal injury case. And I challenge anybody that hadn't been studying this for years and years and years to know what those 20 different elements are. So that all goes into the evaluation of a case, not just, here's $5,000 in medical bills, we'll give you $6,000 and go away.
Yeah.
And another thing too is something as simple as your property damage. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they said, well, I've already settled my property damage, but my car's just not right, and it was a brand new car, and I've lost so much value. And I said, well, did you ask the insurance company for that diminution in value settlement? Oh no, I didn't even think to do that. So just a simple little thing like that could cost somebody hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on their settlement.
And I don't want to sound crass just talking about money, but I mean, as far as there's a huge difference of what, if you try to handle it yourself, pro se, versus having an attorney, the amount of money that you're going to get at the very end is going to be so much less. I don't know if you guys know statistics about how much less that somebody handling a case themselves will get.
And there have been studies on it, and it's significantly more. And look, there's times where people have called our office, and and we'll sort of guide them and don't think it's something that rises where they need an attorney, and they can sort of handle it themselves. But if you have any kind of significant injury from a collision or from a fall, or especially from a non-auto fall, I mean, it's just really important that you sit down with an attorney and understand your rights. It's self-serving or not, there's a lot of attorneys. You don't have to call us, but find a good attorney and talk to them. It's important.
I know after an automobile accident, a lot of people, the first thing they'll say is, I don't want to contact my own insurance company, but that'll be a big mistake in a lot of cases, correct?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. So it's okay to contact your own insurance. If you have what's called underinsurance on your policy, or sometimes it gets called UIM, or MedPay, or personal injury protection, gets called PIP coverage. These are all optional coverages that you have chosen to pay extra to have for certain scenarios. And so it's very often times that the medical bills are going to exceed the value of the at-fault driver's policy. Minimum limits in South Carolina are $25,000. Mike mentioned one surgery costing over $100,000 earlier. It can go like that. So you want to have that UIM coverage, and you want to use it. You have it for a reason.
Going back to what our caller Lisa said, I mean, as far as who's found at fault or found, contributing to the accident, just because you're found contributing to the accident, that's not a be-all, end-all as far as your case is concerned, right?
No.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're found, how do you handle that? How do you proceed if you get an accident report and it shows that your client was found at fault?
Well, Dave, that's again, it weighs you have to weigh the negligence on each side.
Thank you. Time.
Okay, yeah, we're gone. Sorry about that. I can't hear anything, but yeah, show's over. Thanks for that. We'll see you next week.
You may wish to consult a lawyer to obtain case-specific legal advice. Information regarding lawyers can be located online or by contacting the South Carolina Bar Lawyer Referral Service, toll-free at 1-800-868-2284. If you are currently represented by an attorney, you should direct all legal questions to your attorney. The nature of